right, so today's topic is going to be collections. Now, what collections do is they allow you to create a data table within ProcessMaker's interface. So if you can see my screen here at the top, I've got 5 options, and I'm going to go ahead and click on collections. So today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to create a collection that will allow me to store information about employee leave. So before I create the collection, what I need to do is I need to create 2 screens to be able to create and edit data as well as view data. So I'm going to have one screen to create and edit data, and then I'm going to have a second screen that will allow me to view data. So since we've already covered how to design screens, I'm just going to quick show you the screens that I will be using, and then I'll go ahead and teach you how to create a new collection. So first let me go to screens. And then here I've got this screen called Insert Employee Leave. So I'm going to go ahead and look at what this screen looks like. So here I've got this screen that allows me to edit the records in the employee leave table or the employee leave collection. So then here I've got my employee ID, employee name, total leave taken, and leave remaining. So basically the fields on this screen are going to allow me to be able to create new records in the collection. So when you're creating this screen that allows you to create or edit data in your collection, you just need to keep in mind what information you need contained within the record. And then once the record is created, then you need to know which fields you need to be able to edit. In this case, I'm making every field editable in the record. So I'm just going to use the same screen to create and edit a record in a collection. So the other thing to take note of is the variable names that you give each of these fields. So if you remember from the screens webinar, we have variable key names for each of these fields that store any input for every request of the process. So then here we've got employee name, total leave here, and leave remaining. And then these variables will allow us later to create a saved search based on this collection, as well as use scripts to be able to insert leave automatically in a request using an API call to the records endpoint. But anyway, it's very important to keep note of these variable names and then make sure to include the proper fields in the screens. So next, I'm just going to quickly show you the screen I'm going to be using to view information. So let me go ahead and find this. So I've got another screen called View Employee Leave, which allows us to view the information in each record of the collection. So then here, this is the screen that will allow me to view employee leave, and you'll notice that there's no input allowed. So actually, if I look back at this screen information for view employee leave, you'll see that the type of screen it is a display screen, as we can see here. So to be able to view the information in a record, you need to have a display type screen. And that's the wrong screen. Hold on. Sorry about that. And then you'll notice here that enable to display previously input values. I've got those variable key names within mustache syntax here. So then these variable names are the exact same variable names we used in the previous screen that allowed me to input employee leave. So when you're viewing record information, it's important to keep in mind that you have the right key names of the variables in the screen that you use to create or edit records. All right, so now that I have my two screens, input employee leave and view employee leave, I'm ready to be able to create my collection. So let me go back to my collections. And so now I can go ahead and create a collection by pressing this plus collection button. So again, I'm going to create a collection that stores the leave that each employee in my company has taken. So I'll name it employee leave, stores the employee leave information for each employee in the company. For my description, and then here we've got these three main fields, which is what I needed the screens for. So the screen that will allow me to create a record was the input employee leave form, or sorry, insert employee leave. And that's the first form I showed you. Then the view screen, which is view employee leave. And you'll notice here we've got a few limited selections because the screen does need to be a display type screen. And then we've also got the edit screen as well, which I will also be using the insert employee leave. So this is all I really need to create a collection, just a name and description and at least two screens to be able to create and edit a record as well as view a record in the collection. And let me just call this employee leave too. All right. So now we've got this blank collection, no data. So I've got these three options here. This allows me to search for records, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. Here we can create records, and then here we can also save a search that allows us to easily view the data in records. However, let me first create a record so we can see an example of how to use these options in a minute. So I just clicked that plus record button there. All right, and now we've got the screen that I use to be able to insert and edit new records here. So here maybe I have the employee ID, which could be 1, employee name, let me go with Lisa Simpson, total leave taken, let's say she's taken 5 days this year, and then leave remaining could be, let's say she has 10 more days off. And then now that I've got all of that information I need, all I need to do is click the submit button to create a new record in my collection. Now there are two ways to be able to add records to collections. You can do this manually the way I just did it, or you can use a script task to call the REST API endpoint for the records. All right, so now what I want to be able to do is I can edit the record, but right now I'm going to view the record. So then here we've got all of that information I just entered, and this again is the view employee leave screen that I showed you earlier. So here we can see her employee ID, her name, the total leave that she's taken this year, as well as the total leave she has remaining. And that's all there is really to being able to create a collection and then create records in that collection. So let me go ahead and look at what else we can do. So here we can use PMQL to be able to search through the records. Let me go ahead and go to another collection that I have that has a little bit more data just to show you how it's working. So just give me a second. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this department's collection. And this has 5 records, as you can see, which contains information about the name of each department in my company, as well as the manager of that department. So then here, if I can use PMQL, which stands for the ProcessMaker query language, to be able to quickly search for records in my collection based on the data contained within the records. So all I need to do is put in data, then dot the name of the variable key name. So in this case, one of the variable key names is department, which equals to, so if I wanted to see all of the records belonging to the sales department, for example, I can put in sales. So let me go ahead and search. Hold on. There we go. So here we see that the record that contains the information about the sales department shows up here. So if I actually just click view on this record, we'll see that this here is the sales department, and then we can see that the department's manager is Joe Simpson. And let me just show you one other example. In the original employee leave collection that I have. So if I wanted to see all of the leave requests belonging to the, an employee called Joe Simpson, I can put in his employee ID here, search for that record. Hold on a second, it doesn't seem to want to cooperate right now. Oh, that's because it's an integer. Sorry about that. And let me clear this search and try that again. Let me try one. This should work. There we go. All right. So this is the information belonging to the employee with an ID of 1. So let me go back and create a saved search based on that query. So let me just quick type that in again. And then here I'm going to create a saved search. So as you can sort of tell, it's kind of hard to use this table to be able to view the information in a record. So this is why we've created a connection between our collections as well as our saved search feature, which is going to allow us to be able to more easily see the information contained within each record. So let me go ahead and click this Save Search button here. And then I'm going to name this Admin Leave Taken. And then I can also choose my own icon. I'm just going to do this quickly. I can share this with other users and groups if I choose to. But here, again, let's keep note of the name of this search as well as the icon. So I'm going to save it, and then if I refresh this page, I'll be able to see this fire icon on this left side. So let me expand the left side menu, and then here I can see I've got my admin leave taken record here. All right. So now that I've gone here, we see that this isn't all that useful yet, but what I can do is I can customize some fields. And so I'm just going to quickly show you what it looks like after customizing those fields. So you don't have to watch me do it. And then here we can see some of the general information about the record as well as the information within the record. So let me go ahead and further configure this so we only see the information. So here we've got some columns. I've created my custom columns to display that information. So So let me just go ahead and delete some of those old columns. And then now if I go back, I'll see only the information contained within each record. So that is the way you are able to use Save Search in conjunction with collections to be able to easily view the information in each record. So now what would happen is as each record of the admin leave that contains an employee ID of 1 is added to a collection, it's also automatically going to be added to the Save Search here. So we also don't need to keep on going back to the collection, refreshing it, looking for which records belong to the admin user. All right, so that's all there really is to collections. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them at this time. And then I'll go ahead and cover them. However, that's all there really is to cover about collections. Please let me know if you have any questions, if I need to review something, or if there is something that you didn't understand. I'll be more than happy to cover it in these last few minutes. So please let me know. All right, I've got one question. It reads, can you show us an example of using a script to call the records endpoint? I actually do have an example ready. So if I go back into my designer and then look at my scripts, I do have one that calls the records endpoint to be able to get information in a collection. So I've got this one called Get Employee Leave. And then here I'm using Guzzle to be able to call the endpoint. So I've got my API token here. Let me actually scroll back, my base URL. Here I'm creating the client. And then here, this is the important part, is we've got, well, first I've got this request that calls the request endpoint to get all of the current requests from a process. But here is the one I'm looking for. So this is the endpoint for calling a collection. So basically, it's going to be our base URL followed by API 1.0. And then here we've got the collections. Here we've got the collection ID. In this case, the collection ID is 1. And then we've got records because we want to obtain the records in this particular collection. And then here we just return all of the information. So basically, this uses PHP, and I'm able to get all of the information from a record like the employee ID, the total leave, the leave remaining, and the record ID. And then being able to see that in the return here. And then these all come from the variable key names that I gave each field in the screens that I used to create and edit records. Okay, if you have any more questions, please let me know at this time. However, that's the only question I have so far. So again, if I don't see any more questions in the next few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. So this is the last call for any questions that you have. I'll give you a few more seconds to submit them. All right, it looks like that was it. Thank you everyone for attending our webinar. We hope to see you next week for our next in the series. Thank you and have a good day.